Hello, this is Ron and Hugh. Welcome to Politically Challenged, episode 4. Thank you for listening. As always, we talk about current issues in society. Today, we will talk about immigration, our thoughts and opinions on the matter. If you want facts and stats, though, we will give you important links on our Facebook page and our podcast group. Okay.
We are politically challenged, after all. Just saying.
We're politically challenged people, but we're not experts in any of this stuff.
We would like to be. That's the point of the podcast. Just learn and to get other people interested. If you want to question anything we do, we'll question it and then go into it. That's the point.
Yes. We love a good debate. Whenever we talk about subjects, we try to start debates and also to get people interested in politics.
Civilized debates. I don't want people to getting into proper arguments. And we're talking about immigration now, which is taboo pretty much everywhere, really.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing some of the comments and the debates on our page. I mean, wow. I think we were at a seminar, and then afterwards we saw all these comments about, what was it, extremism and right versus left. It was an interesting thing to see develop.
There was only 3 people.
It was like 3 or 4 people talking about it.
Imagine what happens if we get viral. Imagine.
Imagine.
Imagine this on YouTube. When we eventually get this on YouTube, imagine the comment section. It would be. I mean, please be respectful wherever we are, whenever you hear us, whenever it is. It might be years from now, months from now, minutes from now. God knows.
Everybody seems to mention really good points, but yeah, try to be respectful of each other, please.
You're all people at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, before we get into this, the reason why we created Politically Challenged was not so that people could start hating on each other, but because in actual fact, everybody's got their own political views, whether they're interested in politics or not. Like, you can have somebody who doesn't watch the news or care about politics, but they will claim to be a feminist, or they believe in LGBT rights, or they don't like racism for whatever reason.
Yeah, because it's a good reason to like racism. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Racism is stupid. Nobody likes it except racist people. But the fact of the matter is, we created Politically Challenged because we wanted people to think about things. I mean, we never claim to be experts. You know.
We've covered that. I think we've gone through the background. Let's get back into immigration. It's an issue everywhere. I mean, a fictional world as well. Wakanda.
What about Wakanda?
It's a problem there as well.
If you mean within the movie where T'Challa and his soldier friends talks about how they shouldn't let immigrants come into their fictional country because they would take their problems with them.
Oh, no, bring their problems with them.
Bring their problems with them.
I think that's why some people want less immigrants, because they want the problems to leave with them. Yeah, that's an argument.
That makes sense. I mean, some people think that if refugees or or so-called economic migrants, those are 2 very different things. If they wanted to come into a country, any country that is relatively affluent, it's only because they want benefits, or they want a free pass, or they want some sort of security that they maybe don't deserve, according to the people who don't like immigrants, or perhaps to, what is it that they say? To steal people's jobs, which is ironic because most of the people I've ever heard say, they came here to steal our jobs, don't actually have jobs. So it surprises me.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like, my family's from Sri Lanka, you're from Nigeria, but if you think about British colonization, think about the British Museum. I mean, basically, they stole a lot of stuff and then they charge people to see it again, if you think about museums. But that's a whole other debate about heritage and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
again, that is something to think about.
And the Commonwealth Games are happening now, so those are countries that England ruled at some point, the British Empire.
Yes, I mean, there were many empires through the ages. There was the Brits, the French.
Which basically created a form of propaganda. I could be proven wrong, but I think even it was intentional accident, it does create a propaganda that the British is great, England is great, Britain, I mean, it's called Great Britain, bloody hell. And people were like, oh, Britain's great, let's go there.
I mean, perhaps that's a perspective that some people would create, not create, some perspective that people would have, talking about how Europeans would go into Africa and Asia and other continents and colonize and imperialize and take resources and whatever they could get, and now people need to get visas before they even touch another country. It's strange, but obviously those were different times. Not that I'm condoning any of that.
Well, it happened, it happened. We can't really we don't need to speak for people that lived and died hundreds and even decades ago, to be honest, 100 years, 1,000 years. I mean, that'd be stupid. Like, why are we arguing about that?
Okay, so let's talk about now then. Here's one thing that people often say about immigrants. Why do you think that, why do you think that some people believe that we should cap immigration? Do you think there are too many people in the country? Or?
I'm trying to think of one scenario. Like, I remember, like, forget what it was, but there's a Polish delicatessen. That's what they call it.
A Polish
delicatessen. That's what they call it. Those stores. I remember, like, there was a news story about, like, there used to be like a kebab store, no, wait, a cafe or something. Basically, an English cafe, and it had closed down. And the guy on the news was like, "See," and there was a delicatessen right next to it that was like flourishing, and it was like that cafe's been there for like 20, 30 years, and these Polish people came in and it closed down. I mean, that's the perspective, but like, it's in a small street, and people just, I mean, like, you're not blaming the community for like choosing to go to the delicatessen. You're just like, no, it's the immigration as a whole, and like, people go where they want to go. At the end of the day, supply and demand. I don't want to get. I kind of want to go back.
I mean, makes sense.
So I mean, like, people go where they want to go. I mean, like, you can't really blame people. If there's a demand for Polish food, more Polish people will be like, hey, there's an opportunity there. So on. There's always a stereotype about how Polish people are hard workers. So people are like, oh, I want to hire a Polish builder or whatever.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, there is a stereotype that not only Polish people or Polish immigrants, but most, if not all types of immigrants are the hard-working type. Most of them would have come from countries, poorer countries, less affluent countries than the country that they're immigrating to. So they would be more inclined to work harder, try and start businesses as opposed to stealing benefits, as the saying would go.
Oh yeah. We were talking about the negative view that people have of immigrants. There's a positive. People are like, oh, they're hardworking. Like but that hardworking, when they have that image, that creates more jobs for those immigrants and less for people in this country, well, who were born in this country. Saying that, you and I were both born in, and we're not British.
I mean, we are British, but it depends.
From a biological point of view?
No, I mean, that's subjective. It's subjective because, let's say, if we're born here and if we have citizenship, that means we're British. I mean, that means we're British off the bat. We have citizenship and we were born here. But because, I don't know, because we're not white, sure, some people might question it. Maybe ask, oh, where are you from, originally from, stuff like that. I mean, it happens, but I wouldn't say that just because my parents, or one of them, wasn't born in London or Britain, that wouldn't make me British, because I am. And I'm sure if you're born here and if you have citizenship, that would make you British as well.
Yeah, I was.
We're talking about people who, were born in other countries or grew up in other countries, and then they come to another country and then they're immigrants.
Yeah, I think it's, I might be wrong about the dates, but I think 1066 when William won the war, William the Conqueror, I think it's.
William the Conqueror, what, the Battle of Hastings?
Yeah, was that 1066?
Yes.
Yeah, in 2066, it would technically mark the 1000th year that, the present royal line had been, had ruled England, basically. Before it was like different like Saxons and so on. So technically, and if you think about everyone that came with them and Romans and so on.
Yeah.
Technically, the people that claim to be fully British the entire history, go back, I don't know how much information people get on the internet, but how many people would be here like now? I mean, like, that's 1,000 years, but that's 1066. What about the 1,000 years before that? Or the 1,000 years before that? How far are we looking back? Because if you do a DNA test, basically you find your makeup and you'll be like part African, part Asian. Everyone's from everywhere, really.
Yeah,
where'd you draw the line? Where'd you draw the line? Oh, my grandfather and his grandfather was English and born in England. What about before that? I don't know. That's not really a valid argument, is it?
Well, that depends. I mean, sure, a lot of people would call themselves British because maybe their grandfathers or great-great-grandfathers were born here, and they think that they're more British than some other people. But at the same time, you're right that everybody's ancestors were immigrants at some point. At some point in the family history, most, if not all people, would have had their ancestors would have come to this country.
They say Africa, but I think it's Africa was the first major colonized, a major like largest population. But I think
Apparently, the human race originated in East Africa. That's what the scientists are saying, at least.
well, at the end of the day, like if you think about evolution, but are we going to get an evolution debate? Nah, no one cares.
I mean, we can talk about evolution another time, but regarding immigration, I know that people come to this country, but when people, particularly, let's say, Caucasian people from this country, when they go to different countries, they're almost never called immigrants, especially not by themselves. They're called expatriates or expats.
I don't know.
Like if they retire in Spain, they're not immigrants, they're expats. But let's say if somebody came from Libya and decided to live here, maybe to get away from the slave trade or post-Gaddafi terrorization of the country, whatever it is. They come here and then all of a sudden they're immigrants. Now, this makes sense because they're not from the country originally, but how come if somebody's from here and they go to another country, they're expats?
Okay, let's talk about what, you know, it's American, the English, well, I wouldn't say a dream, a thing that people do is like, they work for X amount of years and then they just go and retire in a villa in Spain.
Yeah, exactly.
Are they not immigrants?
I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, technically they would be. I'm not sure what sort of criteria would distinguish an expatriate from an immigrant, apart from the fact that they
more
were
choice,
British.
Actually, they
and
probably
then
had more
moved.
choice. The thing with refugees and so people that are, the Libyan example you just mentioned, he, she, they were basically like they had to leave the country and they just went for, like I said, England has a decent reputation. So, I mean, there are other places in Europe, and other countries have immigrants as well. So that's I mean, we have to share the burden. I mean, people are, I'm not going to say that again. But people are around.
The thing is, perhaps there is a difference. I'm just not sure what it is, or if there is one, between an expatriate and an immigrant. But perhaps it's just a matter of perception, really. If it's us going to move to another country, we're expatriates. If it's someone coming here, they're immigrants. I don't know.
Okay. So what's the criteria now? So like, you have to be like employed and something. What would people?
What, for an immigrant
to get here?
come
Like people want people like highly qualified and so on.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily the criteria, but I think it might help. I mean, what do you reckon? Do you think that our immigration system should be more merits-based or qualification-based?
I think this might not be the best way to think about it. Like, let's think of this situation. Let's say hypothetically England went through a war much like Libya and other countries.
Okay.
And we, for the sake of our safety, are like, we gotta leave. Based on, we both have university degrees, you have a master's, I might have a master's soon. Do you think we'd be appealing to other countries to take us aboard?
Appealing to other countries?
Yeah, sorry, like, they give us asylum and they pretty much say, oh, you get a job in a few months, few years. We know, or you have a decent track record. Do you think we are, the example, based on our history, do you think we'd be accepted? England had a similar war to other countries.
As if?
We had to go to France, or we had to go to Germany, or Ireland, whatever.
We had to move to those countries.
Because there's a war in England. How would they perceive us?
Honestly, I'm not sure, to be honest.
I think that's how you have to think about it. Don't think about like, oh, there people come from another country. How would you want to be seen and perceived if there was a war coming in your country now? England, America, France, or whatever. Italy, I could name every country. Basically, how would you feel if a war was happening and you knew you had to get out?
Well, I'm sure it depends on the immigration system that each country has.
Yeah, but...
They might have different systems.
But ideally, you'd be like given a helping hand, and then they'd pull you in.
Perhaps. Perhaps if they know that we're British nationals, because we are allies with France, and we have a relatively stronger relationship with Germany in comparison to 70 years ago, but not necessarily as strong as...
I don't think anyone had a good relation with Germany 70 years ago.
Maybe not, obviously not, except maybe Germany's allies back then. But the point stands.
Would it Soviet Union?
I think it would be slightly easier to get into our closest European countries like Germany or France, even Germany. But especially since Germany took all those refugees last time, they had to stop that now. I think. But
I think there was some alleged assaults and some proven assaults as well.
yep, assaults, rapes from refugees and immigrants and other types of people, and I'm sure there was pressure on the government to restrict refugees coming in, especially from right-wing people.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to come out and say, oh yes, all those rapes were just because of immigrants and refugees.
Well,
we
if
have
they
to
were,
take everything
well,
with a pinch of salt.
And I also say, kind of, if they were perpetrated by immigrants, then I'd be like, that means there's some sort of vetting has to be done, criminal records. But again, I mean, how much info do we have about the people that come into the country? How much info do they have? I mean, paperwork and stuff could be destroyed and so on. We might have no history whatsoever.
Well, that's specific to the person who wants to live in that country.
Yeah, I guess so. Alrighty, so we talked about Europe. I think we might as well go about Brexit.
I mean, perhaps.
It is relevant to this. I mean, immigration. I'm not going to say everyone that voted out were, anti-immigration. I mean, like, I voted to remain, but after leaving and seeing how the debates are going, I see how weird the system is for the EU. So if the vote comes again, I'd probably say leaving makes sense because the system is ineffective. So, but there is a portion of people that wanted all the Europeans to leave. Well, yeah, leave. They just basically want them to leave.
Some people, yes.
I said a portion. I think it would be naive to say that are you saying that no one that voted leave wanted every European in the country to leave? Are you saying no one? That would be naive, I would say.
No, I wouldn't say that. You're right.
Some of them,
some people.
a portion, I don't know why they would, though, to be honest.
I think immigration was an issue, but not as big of an issue as people make it out to be.
Yeah, some. Maybe a small sum. A very small sum. 10%?
But
12%, 5%, whatever.
You have to remember that there was a little bit of manipulation in that. First of all, there was the official, official leave EU votes. Not the votes, the campaign for the votes to leave the EU. The official campaign, the official Brexit campaign. They believed that the best way to advertise the fact that Brexit is a good idea is to talk about how immigration should be capped. We got all these refugees from different countries. People from Syria and Iraq would go into Turkey, and then from Turkey, it'll be easier for them to get EU membership, and then from there, it'll be easier for them to go to the United Kingdom or other EU countries. That was one of the scaremongering tactics used by the Leave EU campaign, helped by, of course, the Cambridge Analytica lot and other people.
Has that been talked about since Cambridge Analytica? I know it.
It's been mentioned.
With the Brexit, has that been mentioned again with the Brexit negotiations happening about immigration?
I'm not sure, but it's been mentioned recently.
With Cambridge Analytica, but that's a whole nother.
Yeah, all the things that they had supposedly done, despite the fact that Cambridge Analytica would boast that they helped the Brexit campaign, they helped the Trump campaign, but if you ask any of them, except the whistleblowers, of course, they'll say, oh, it had nothing to do with us. It's weird like that.
Yeah. You mentioned Trump. Let's go back over Trump before he asked for Obama's birth certificate. I mean, I personally don't care if he was born in America or not, but I find it really weird that a person that's pretty much, I think he was born in America, but that doesn't matter. I find it weird, like a person can, like, let's say, be born in one country and then, like, I don't know how old you have to be to get on a flight, but anyway, you could get into a country like at a day old and you're basically that nationality to me. If you lived your entire life, you're English and so on. So I don't get why it's such a big deal for America that a president has...
With all this DACA stuff?
No.
The DACA children and everything else?
Oh, that's a different... I don't get the whole thing about the president has to be born in America. If he moved to America when he was one day old, or 1 year old, or 2 years old, he doesn't speak any language. Why does it matter that he wasn't born there? If he spends the next 38, 48 years in that country, he is American. Why is it so important for him to be born there? I think it's weird.
I think it's just part of the law, really. Maybe part of the Constitution.
Yeah, but that's weird law. I mean, like, are you saying that, okay, with this hypothetical baby, will it get American citizenship at some point?
Sure, if it lived in America and the rights to citizenship was applied for.
Yeah, so, after a reasonable amount of time, that baby will get citizenship and will grow into an adult who I mean, they'd be a U.S. citizen. So technically, shouldn't they have the right like any other person? I mean, like you and I, we were both born in England, so like we don't have that law in England, do we? Where like you have to be born in the country to become. I mean, we had Mo Farah in the Olympics. But that's different, but you know what I mean.
Yes, I understand. I mean, just because, I mean...
It's a weird rule. It's a really weird rule. I mean, change that one rule and then like...
Well, they could, because there are a lot of immigrants in the UK, but I don't think that's a law that they will ever change.
I mean, like, okay, let's take okay, what if you're Canadian and you move to America? And you have children, and your children were born in Canada, but they moved, like, they moved to America and they became American citizens.
Say that again?
They moved from Canada to America, basically. And
Yeah.
their children were born in Canada, but they grew up in America. They are American. They become American citizens at some point. They are American, basically.
They still won't be allowed to be president.
Which is weird.
It's just their law.
That is weird. That is weird.
I mean, perhaps it should be changed, or
No, no,
could
no.
be changed.
I don't think there's I mean, I'm not going to judge, but I think there's no valid reason for that. I mean, like, if you came after 18, and, I mean, you can still get a citizen. I mean, I think there should be a cutoff point. I can agree with that, but surely, I mean, like, before 18, I think that's fair enough. If you become a citizen before 18, I think you should be allowed to run for office, or whatever.
Perhaps some people might share that opinion. I mean, it doesn't seem illogical. I mean, it may be unconstitutional to some die-hard patriots, but perhaps...
Well, that is their country, and like, I guess they'll be like, this is our country, and we accept it for everything it is, and shall always be. So, I'm not going to... I think there should be a discussion about it, to be honest. We're talking about it, but we're not Americans, so... If any Americans hear this, so that would be nice if they think about it.
I mean, they haven't even had a Native American president.
Oh, that's a whole... Oh, that's...
I mean, let alone somebody who wasn't born in this country. That's a whole nother issue entirely.
Oh, yeah. I was talking about my argument about, like, how if into 2060 it'll be 1,000 years of the Queen Elizabeth's family ruled England and so on.
Sure.
How long has America officially been America? 300, 500 years?
No, 1776. So just over 200 and, well, just shy of 250, round about 240, 250 years. That's how long America's been the United States of America. Then before that, it was completely different. You had the Confederacy and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I was joking about like a person saying his granddad was English and so on. Like, each American could trace their history back to before they were Americans. So that's weird, isn't it?
I mean, I understand what you're right, but I guess it's just some sort of weird patriotic law that the person who wants to be the president has to be from that country. I mean, if you say it like that, it makes perfect sense. But perhaps there's a need for some sort of change.
Yeah, well, if you think about it then, I think that because it was probably after they had just got independence, so they probably didn't want... Well, these are laws that haven't been changed. Wait, they had some reform, right? It's weird.
Perhaps.
They were warring with the British at the time, and I wonder how long it took for peace to resolve. So that could be a reason. They didn't want a British person on the metaphorical throne, which is the United States presidency. That is possible.
Perhaps. I mean, it might be unrelated, but I remember a joke that a classmate of mine made that since he was born in Florida, despite the fact that he lived his whole life in Britain, he could technically run for United States presidency because he was born in America.
Wow.
So if you think about it like that, it's a bit more far-fetched, but technically, well...
He was born in America, and that is the one rule. You have to be born in America. Wait, does he have dual citizenship?
I don't think he does, no. That's the funny thing.
Oh, wait, you have to be born... Oh, wait. I think U.S. citizenship is needed, so I think that's not... I think your friend's probably wrong, whoever that friend is.
He might be. He might be right, he might be wrong.
I mean, if he becomes president, I'll salute him.
Well, I guess that's a challenge for our friends and our listeners. If you believe that there should be a change in the U.S. system, that, you know, a system that would allow someone who isn't necessarily born in America to be the American president, Definitely be something that the Americans or Congress should discuss at some point.
Okay.
I mean, to sum up, we believe that perhaps, I mean, we understand the argument that maybe immigration should be capped.
Caps make sense, and I think background checks.
Background checks are important. I won't lie to you.
Based on what
I'm
you
a
said
firm
about
believer in that.
Yeah, but like we also need to understand that I don't know how easy background checks are when you're from a war-torn country, how much information you can get. But I don't think it's fair to stigma a group basically stereotype everyone as a bad person based on like they're from a war-torn country, it will change them and so on. So it means everyone's bad and we should just push them aside. I mean, it's pretty tragic that so many people died in the sea and so on.
Yeah, perhaps we should be more sympathetic to refugees, but at the same time, background checks are essential.
I think we should share the burden in that, and also...
What burden?
We have to help people, I think. Economically, there are restrictions, but you talk about those assaults in Germany, was it? Yeah, Germany. Those people...
We should probably, definitely help refugees out more, but at the same time, we should make background checks essential so that we don't accidentally let the wrong people in.
Yeah, but obviously when the wrong people come in, we could always prison. And there's also rehabilitation. I mean, we both did psychology as a degree, so I think mental health and actually, how much How much support do they give about the trauma? They will probably have PTSD.
Sure. But yes,
children,
mental
women,
health checks.
Men.
Mental health checks are also essential, and yeah, we can look into rehabilitation. But at the same time, prevention is better than cure when it comes to making sure that people who don't want to harm this country in any way aren't allowed into the country.
I mean, there's a thing about the whole transgender debate in America. I didn't want to go back to America, but also...
No, but that's something entirely different.
I know, but it talks about their mental well-being. So, they should probably have an extra test to make sure that they're emotionally ready to deal with it.
What, to be in the military?
No, because there's stress in the military and there's stress with what they've gone through. I think that's fair. One more psychological evaluation, one more test, one questionnaire, so on, or whatever. I don't know what they do, but I don't see it's unreasonable for them to do one more test just to see that they're mentally able to deal with it. I think that's fair. One more, soldiers should probably do hundreds of tests to be certified to be a soldier. So, what's one more, to be honest?
Perhaps. Well, on that note, I think we're done. So, as usual. Check us out and follow us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/politically challenged.
We'll try to be longer next time, to be honest.
No, I think we made a good time. There's also Instagram, politically challenged 247. We also have a new Twitter account, so that's cool. PC Politicast, and
interesting name.
YouTube channel is still under construction, so bear with us on that.
Ideally, you'll be watching this in a very professionally edited video, but that's the dream.
That is the dream. Well, until next time, goodbye from Ron and Hugh. Thanks for listening.